Okay, what's up guys? Today I'm going to do an updated gear gadgets video for car camping. Now, like always, if you're spending more time shopping or dreaming about gear than you are out in the mountains, you probably have your priorities out of order. So get that stuff straight first. And then if you got a little extra cash to burn, here's some ideas of cool stuff that I've come across in the last year that I think you might like as well. Okay, so the first thing, this actually isn't new to me and I've mentioned it before, but this is a portable battery pack that is used for jump starting your car. Now, I've had battery issues in the past in our Subaru, now in our old Ford truck, and there's nothing worse than being stranded knowing all you need is a 10-second jump from another rig. And so this little pack with the included little set of cables just connects up to your battery. It'll jump your car. Like I said, I've used it to jump our old F250 as well as our little Subaru. It works awesome. It can get you out of a pinch, especially if you're out in the backcountry where you might be screwed or having to wait a long time for somebody to show up to give you a hand. So cheap insurance, super handy. I've used this thing a ton and talked to so many people who are in the same boat. And then it also has USB port here, so you can charge your phone or your satellite phone or something like that if you're in a pinch in that way. And then to recharge it, you can just do it from your car charger once it's back up and running, or else from the wall if you're back at home. Okay, this next one, sorry about all the noise by the way. Our street is getting absolutely torn up right now, so they're destroying the asphalt and causing a bunch of noise. But the second one is a fast packing pack. So this is a pack that's basically a mix between like a running vest and a backpack. So I've found that every time I go out, I always bring a backpack because I end up trucking around, whether it's hiking or going for a run or just fishing or whatever. And sometimes if you have a normal backpack, one thing that's annoying about them is if you're running or you're cruising down a trail or whatever, they can bounce around a lot, which is just really annoying. And then they also don't have a way to store things where they're immediately accessible. And so if you've used running vests in the past, they typically will have like a pocket system on the front where you can store like water bladder bottles, your phone, knife, satellite phone, whatever it is, but very little space. Or you've had a normal backpack that has all the space on the back, but nothing accessible on the front. So this is kind of a hybrid between the two. This one is from Outdoor Vitals. It's 30 liters. It has some of the standard backpack style features, some running style features, and it's just designed completely in a way that it doesn't bounce when you're cruising along. And so this is kind of my new go-to backpack for day trips of any sort, and it gives me complete flexibility. And then all the pockets on the front that you can see here, there's bladder bottles that you can put one in each side. They're stored nice and securely so you can drink from those. There's a place for your phone, your wallet, if you need bear spray or a lead spray, then you've got an option there. And it's been great. We just used them in Alaska a couple weeks ago for a bit, and then just here around town. And I think we're gonna be using these a ton in the future. Okay, the next one is a water filter. So this is a bee-free water filter, and I've made videos in the past on other filters, specifically the Sawyer, and I used that for a very long time, but about a year and a half ago, I switched to this one. Well, actually this one, because you can get it in different bladder sizes. And it's just a bladder that has a filter built into the lid and a spout. And so you just fill it up from whatever source you have, you screw the filter in, and then you squeeze the water through. And so a lot of people use these little ones. This is a 1 liter, and it's great because it can fit into the pocket of like that fast packing pack or just any water bottle pocket. And then you can just drink straight from it, fill it up at a stream. They are a lot more efficient, I've found, than the Sawyers. They don't take as much pressure to squeeze it through, and they seem to work really well. This one I used last year with my old filter in Alaska on a 12-day pack rafting trip. I used nothing but this the entire time on a silty river, because that's just how they are up there, and it worked great. The filter did get a little clogged by the end, and I ended up replacing it this winter, but that was after a ton of use in pretty dirty water. And so as far as filters go, I don't think at this point there's a more compact and reliable version that I've found. The Sawyers, the bladders tend to blow out, they tend to leak a lot, and so that's why I've strayed away from them. I've also tried the LifeStraw brand, which I thought was okay, but then the bladder actually just broke on me recently, and so maybe I abused it too hard, but so far I've had great luck with these, and these are the ones that are my go-to at the moment. So a bee-free water filter. Oh, good girl. Look over here. Okay, the next piece of equipment is a puppy, because no matter what you're doing, they make life so much better. We got Maru about a year ago, and she's awesome. We love taking her camping, and She loves the snow like me, so we're excited for that to come. And she's so cuddly, so get yourself a puppy. Right, Rue? Okay, come on. Okay. All right, the next piece is a big one. This is the Jackery 1000, and I have talked about these batteries multiple times, and it's for good reason, and I'm probably not gonna stop. And that's just because I feel like these batteries have enabled a lot of the lifestyle that we have been able to live in the last few years. So it's a battery pack. It has a built-in inverter. It has a readout screen so you can see your percentage that you're at, as well as how much is going out in wattage, or if you're recharging it, how much is coming in. It can be recharged off the wall, your car, solar power. We have a couple panels that we'll bring up with us if we need them. And it has a bunch of different ports. So your standard 110 style like wall outlet, you have USB-C, USB-A, and then you have your standard like cigarette lighter style 12 volt. And we use these things a ton. So this is actually, I think, my third one now. And the reason is the first one I got for Subaru car camping, it was awesome, smaller one, used it a ton. Then I got the van and I wanted to build the whole electrical system around it. And so that's what I did. So I made it to where that van, while it was, you know, it wasn't a super high-tech van system, I had all of the lights inside of it, the vent fan, the phone port, everything was all wired into a fuse box, and then I had it come down to the Jackery. And so then I just plugged one port into here. When I turned this on, the entire van operated off of it, and then when I turned it off, the entire van went dead. And I wanted that because then this thing was removable. So if I was in somewhere where I was, you know, didn't want somebody to break in and have access to expensive things, I could just take it with me. Or if I stayed at somebody's house and I wanted to recharge it, I could just walk around with it. Or if we used another vehicle at some point, or I was going with friends or whatever, again, I could just take it with me. And so it made it a completely removable battery system, and it worked extremely well. Now, when I sold the van, it went with it. And so then, long story short, we got another one and we still use it a ton. Sadie is a wedding photographer, so she edits a ton while we're on the road. It makes it so that we can travel, we can go on road trips, I can drive, she can edit on her laptop for hours on end and be productive, as well as her day job. And so it works really well for all those reasons. If you are trying to run little appliances, even if you want to make pancakes, we've done that before on a pan. In the winter, when we got Maru, we used it for an electric blanket so I could make sure that she was warm, and a heater. We did that as well. You can use it to run a CPAP even. I know a lot of people these days are finding CPAPs to be really helpful with getting good sleep, and so this is a way to make that CPAP portable. So there's just a lot of cool uses for them. I know they're expensive, but there's a whole variety of options. So if you're just needing to recharge your phone or your laptop or your satellite phone or whatever periodically, there's some smaller, less expensive options. Or if you need it regularly, you can get something like this 1000 or even bigger, and then you can always bring solar panels and recharge them on the go. So that's why I like the Jackery. And so far, I haven't had any issues. We have a lot of expensive camera equipment and our expensive laptops, and so I was a little bit leery about, you know, plugging them into random power sources. So far, we've had absolutely no issues with them, and so at this point, I see no reason to change. And so I'd highly recommend, if you are just looking for something to power your computers and your Starlink or your CPAP or your blender, these things are awesome. So definitely check them out. So on that topic, before we get into some fun little ones, I want to talk again about the inReach Mini. This is the Garmin little device. I've used this for years now. It's a satellite texting phone. It connects to my phone, or it works independently. It has an SOS button on it. And whenever I'm hiking or doing anything moderately sketchy, I either have it on my shoulder strap, or if I'm not wearing a backpack, I'll just put it on like my waist belt and tuck it into my pocket. That way it's always accessible for me. I've had a couple of falls over the years that have made me realize that it would probably be wise to have something like this. And these have saved tons of lives. If you're going into the backcountry, it's just a cheap piece of insurance, and it's a good way to keep your family connected with you. And you can even do live tracking on these. So I like it because it's easily accessible. I know like some phones might have the option to do something like this now, but a phone, I feel like the batteries don't last nearly as long, at least for me when I'm mapping and things like that. And I don't have a good way of carrying it where it's accessible if you were to fall and just be able to reach and touch it. And then Garmin also has a robust system for activating these emergency processes. And like I said, they were the way that people got a hold of, or get a hold of Mountain Rescue all the time here. And they have month-to-month plans, so you don't have to have it year-round. And the lowest plans are like, I think only like 11 bucks, which is the one I use most of the time, which is just, you know, a handful of texts each month. And so if you need to, you can update somebody without breaking the bank. All right, this next one is a little one, and it's not even actually the bottle that it comes in. This is a little bottle of soap. It's Dr. Bronner's soap. And Dr. Bronner's, I don't know a ton about it, but what I do know is it's condensed soap that is biodegradable, safe to use in whatever way you want to. And I have used it at this point around the world. Every time we go on an international trip, I bring a tiny little bottle like this or one slightly bigger. And then I use it for washing our clothes in sinks. Just put a couple drops in there, hot water, and do it old school style. You can use it for washing anything, your body, your hair, whatever. I don't think you're supposed to use it in like rivers or lakes or whatever, but outside of that, as far as a good condensed soap to keep you clean while you're out adventuring, I think it's a great option. Then you can buy little secondary containers like this if you only need a little bit. Oh, we got a train too. Okay, another one is Gear Aid tape. So this is a roll strip of tape that is like a fabric tape. And I got it a couple years ago because I kept ripping holes in my down puffy jacket. And I used to just use like duct tape or Gorilla tape, but that ends up causing like a rigid, like hard section of the fabric. And so it's just kind of awkward, especially if it's in a place that has a lot of motion. And so I got some of this stuff and it's awesome. I carry it with me everywhere now. It's like a fabric tape. It sticks very well. Great for sleeping bags, tents, any sort of clothing. And like I said, unlike duct tape, it's not rigid and there's not that residue over time that duct tape seems to get from breaking down from, you know, the heat and other things like that. So good little piece of equipment just to throw in your pack in case you tear things. Okay, this next one is a pair of, I think it's Ombra's sunglasses is the brand. So they're sunglasses, but without arms on them. They use these strings instead. And the whole reason for that is, one, they are more secure on your head. I suppose Croakies kind of do the same thing. But then they also collapse down, so you don't have arms to break, which seems to be the thing that breaks on every pair of sunglasses I've broken. It's been the arms. And so when you're backpacking or camping or whatever, and you have sunglasses and then it, you know, turns stormy or whatever, you don't need them anymore. It can be a little bit of a challenge to store them, especially if you're trying to shove them in a pack or, you know, you put a jacket on and it's over them. It just makes it susceptible to damage. And so these ones are kind of nice because if you are wearing them, they stay on pretty well. I was a bit surprised. I didn't know what to expect. And then when you're not wearing them, they can flat lay like against your body. And so you can put jackets or layers on top of them and they won't be, you know, the arms won't be breaking off. Or else you can just shove them into your backpack in the sleeve that they come with, and then they're protected. And so we just took these to Alaska, and yeah, I mean, they're seem like great glasses, and it's kind of a convenient way to not have to worry about them. Okay, I'll make this one quick because I've talked about it before, but camp cooking, boiling water, whatever, Jetboil, Minimo, this thing, I leave it in my truck full time. We use them all the time. I've made thousands of cups of coffee, meals, all sorts of things. You can put pans, pots, whatever on here, or just use the built-in cup that it comes with, and it has a little plastic cup on the bottom. Paired with an AeroPress Go, which is a coffee press nestled into a cup. I don't think you can beat this for a simple car camping kitchen setup for delicious coffee and being able to make simple foods. Okay, now if you want to get a little more carried away, so just recently I got this thing. This is a espresso maker, and it's portable. I've never owned like an expensive, nice one at home, but I've wanted one. And so recently we got this one, which is a hybrid that we can use at home on the stovetop or out when we're camping on a stove again. And it's basically a pot of water. You put the water in there, you put the grounds into this canister on the top, you add a filter, boil it. Over time, pressure builds up. It tells you how much pressure you need, and then let the espresso come out of the front. And then right here, you've got a steamer port. So if you have milk and you want to froth the milk, then you can use this thing. I'm pretty new to it, but so far it's been kind of fun to just play with. So it's definitely more of a, I don't know, a bougie camping novelty thing to bring with you, but it's pretty fun. And if you're into espresso, I think it's kind of a cool solution for that. So then along the same lines, if you want to do some camp cooking, I'm sure you have all heard of Dutch ovens, but we hadn't used one up until the last couple of years, and recently we've been using it quite a bit. This is something I leave in my truck now pretty much full time, and it's a 10 quart, I think, Dutch oven with a lid, has legs on it, so you can use it over charcoal, the campfire, or even over my camp stove if I want to. And it's just a fun way to make bigger meals if you're making group meals, or it has a lot more thermal mass to it, and so if you're in cold weather trying to cook like a steak or something like that, it can be nice to use just because it holds more heat when you put the cold steak on it or whatever you're making. The next one is a camp axe. So this one is from Gerber. I don't remember the model. I'll link everything up below, but this is a axe. It's kind of like a mid-size. It's not you know, a huge splitting like axe, and it's not a hatchet, so it's kind of in the middle zone, which I found really convenient. I leave it in my truck full time. I've used it a ton from for everything from pounding, you know, tent stakes in, to cutting logs off of the road, cutting firewood, splitting firewood, chipping away ice and snow if I get stuck in the winter, all sorts of things. So it's just a good axe, fairly lightweight, but I've found it to be nice and effective. Okay. This one is a tote, which I never would have thought I'd say this, but this is a Cordova tote. It's just this really tough bag. My wife does all their photography, which is how we ended up with this. And so we started using it, and now I find that I use it all the time. For firewood, anything that's heavy, dirty, awkward, whatever, this ends up just kind of being the catch-all. Right now it just has some cast iron pans and charcoal and stuff from a recent trip. But if we're using our hot tent in the winter, fill it up with firewood, all sorts of things, and it's just an easier thing to carry than like a tote, and it doesn't it like seems to dampen the sound too, so when you're driving it's not as rattly because it's a soft container rather than like a tote or something like that. And then it's easy to carry it, and it can handle quite a bit of weight, so you don't have to worry about it breaking like some lighter duty bag. Okay, the next big ones are sleep systems. So we have a bunch of different sleeping bags and pads, and I've tried a bunch over the years, but I have found right now, these are the two that we go for the most. These are 15-degree rated, Nemo, I'll link it down below what the model is, but they're down sleeping bags. They're a spoon shape, and this is a female, this is the male version. They're both the long style, and we love them. The female one has a little bit more loft to it. You can kind of see, I mean, this is a very unscientific expression, but it's has a little more loft to it just because women tend to get colder easier, which is true with us. We use these things all the time. And the things that we like most about them are, one, they have like they call it a spoon shape, which is just a different shape than their standard mummy bag. And so it feels way more open, like you just have room to move around and not be like strapped down like you're actually in a mummy bag. And then they have vents on them, so if you are hot, they have these like little gill vent things on the front that breathe a little bit. One of the biggest things I like is they have a flap on the neck that comes down, and it stops all the drafts. So while they have the standard like cinch down, they also have this neck flap, which when I first saw it, I thought, I didn't really know, I guess, what to think about it, but I found it to be incredibly nice, because at night, like a lot of times you don't want to cinch it down to where it's, you know, tight around your face, and just feels more claustrophobic. And so this is a way to where you can still have a little bit of space for your head to move around, but then stop all the drafts right here, so that all the hot air that's, you know, down in the sleeping bag that your body's producing can stay there and continue to work and keep you warm. Another thing, they have a slip-in or a slip on the in the hood for a pillow, so you can slide an inflatable pillow in there, or I just use my down jacket a lot, and then you don't need to worry about falling off your pillow, or, you know, yeah, it just captures it, puts it in a place where it's always where your head is, no matter how much you move around. And then they also zip together. So the women's version, the man's version, their zippers are on opposite sides, same zippers though, they zip together. So if you want to, you can get cozy, share body heat, and yeah, it's nice. So these sleeping bags are awesome. They're the Riff, now that I see that here. It's the Nemo Riff 15 degree, and they have other ratings depending on your needs, but we've found that these things are totally comfortable down to 15 degrees. And I've even used mine colder, just throw a jacket on. And then pair that with a good sleeping pad. This is the Nemo Tensor Insulated. Used this for years. We have a couple of them, and they're awesome. They're easy to inflate. They come with bladder bags, so you can just squeeze the air from this bladder bag into the pad rather than having to inflate it by, you know, individual breaths for like 10 minutes. Helps keep the condensation down in the pad as well. And then they have good insulation value. The R rating on them, I don't remember what it is, but it's good, and that's really important because a lot of your heat loss is through, you know, your back when you're sleeping at night, and so this is a good way to help prevent that. Okay, now this one might be a bit funky, but underwear. These are Ex Officio boxers, and I've used the same style for the last 10 years. They were recommended to me before I went to work in Alaska doing wildland. They're like a merino blend, and up there we didn't get to shower. The longest I went was 23 days, and we also didn't have a lot of extra weight allowance in our bags for gear, and so we ended up having to wear underwear many days in a row. And so what you have on kind of matters. These things have been awesome. Since then, I bought I think 5 in like 2015, the beginning of 2015. I've worn pretty much nothing but those for like 8 or 9 years until recently. I just bought another whole bundle of them because they're awesome. And the long ones, they also don't ride up your legs. So if you, find that to be a problem, then these can be awesome. Just anything with some merino in it, I think is kind of the answer to be able to go multiple days, you know, without having to bring a change of clothes for every single day. And like I said, when we go traveling, a lot of times we just bring like 1.5 or 2 sets of clothes, and then at night, if we're staying in a hostel or by a river or whatever, we can rinse them out, and if we want to, we can use the Dr. Bronner's soap, and by the morning they're dried out again and good to go. So good pair of underwear. Come here. Good girl. Yes, yes. Oh, look. Okay, well, I hope that brought some ideas to mind. Once again, get out there, buy gas first, just go have fun, and if you got a little extra cash burning a hole in your pocket, then check out the links below, and thanks for supporting the channel. You wanna go for a walk? Yes? You wanna go camping? Yes? Okay, let's do it. Jump, jump.